Hello, listeners. Thanks for tuning in to our Routes Through Pokemon podcast. We're still a fairly new podcast and going through some growing pains and learning the difficulties of equipment issues and locations for recording and everything. So thank you for bearing with us through our first handful of episodes, and I hope that you can struggle through with us in the next couple as we ran into some audio issues. I think we've got most of those things fixed, and we've finally come to a better place of recording. So in the next 3 or 4 episodes, I believe, maybe 5, I don't remember, hopefully things will be a little bit more consistent in quality, and we will still be continuing to try to progress, get better equipment and such, but we're working with what we got for now. And we hope that you are able to enjoy the show still as we continue forward. Thanks again. Now here's the episode. Welcome to Routes Through Pokemon Adventures. And these are the episodes where we journey through the manga and anime to catch up to where we are in the video game. I'm your host, Shea Locke.
I'm Ruby.
And today we have our first guest star,
Rosella.
Hi, Rosella. How's it going?
Good.
Happy to be here?
Yes.
Good. All right, so welcome to the show, Rosella. Why don't you, since you're new to it all, tell us your history with Pokemon. Like, when did you first hear of it, get into it, learn about it, what you've done with it?
I think we used to watch the shows a few years ago, and then me and my sister around Christmas time got Let's Go Eevee, and Daddy got Let's Go Pikachu.
Incorrect.
Huh?
You and Ruby got Let's Go Pikachu. I got Let's Go Eevee. Because Eevee was my favorite Pokemon.
Whoopsies. Then we played that some bit, and then I felt like it was a pause in Pokemon, and then we're so...
I think you're right. So, and I talked about this a bit when me and Ruby started this podcast, but, I grew up as a teenager. When I was a teenager, I'd learned some stuff about Pokemon. I discovered the cartoon show when I would babysit my younger cousin, and because I didn't really get to watch a lot of TV at home. So I was watching TV with him, and Pokemon came on, and I got hooked on the cartoon. I'm like, well, this is really cool. And then me and your uncle, when we were growing up, we used to play a game called Magic the Gathering, which was a card game where you fought each other with summoning monsters and stuff. And the company that put out Magic the Gathering eventually came out with a Pokemon card game. So it used to be owned by that company. Now it's not owned by that company anymore. But the Pokemon card game we all play is an extension of that game. And I had a couple of friends. I never owned a Game Boy growing up. But I had some friends that did. And they played Pokemon Red and Blue, which were the first Pokemon games. And I only played with those a little bit. They would let me borrow, not borrow, but when I was visiting, they would let me play on it for a little bit, but I couldn't start my own save because you can only have one save on those, right? So I only just kind of dabbled in it a bit. And then I did try to play Red or Blue or something on an emulator where I downloaded it onto my computer and played it. And I played some, but I never beat it, I don't think, that way. And then around the same time with the Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu, and all that stuff, I had also gotten Fire Red and Leaf Green, which are remakes of Red and Blue. And the reason it's called Leaf Green is because in Japan, when they came out, it was actually Red and Green, not Red and Blue. So then I would play that, and I was playing with your brother, your oldest brother.
Okay.
But he wouldn't play a lot. He would get bored or want to do something else, or maybe not even bored, but he had other things he wanted to do. And I wanted to play with him because I wanted to play with somebody so I could trade. And then you and your sister, you specifically, had shown some interest in wanting to do it too. So then I had also gotten Pokemon Crystal and Pokemon Gold or Silver or something like that on the 3DS and the 2DS, because I also bought a 2DS so that I could have two systems so that we could do that kind of stuff. Because I thought, well, maybe I could play the second game with you or something like that, because you seemed interested. But again, a lot of that just kind of fell to the wayside. You had other things you want to do. Everybody had other things they wanted to do. And so then I really went anywhere. But I finished playing Leaf Green, and I think that's the first time I ever beat a Pokemon game then. And also in that time frame, me and your mom would play Pokemon Go, because that had just come out. And we played that a lot, especially during some long trips we'd had to take up to another city for other obligations 3 times a week, if you remember that whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But then you're right. Then it kind of just died out for a little while. We didn't really do much with it, because I was into it, but not everybody else was really, except for maybe watching the cartoon sometimes off the computer and stuff, because it had a bunch of episodes on there. But then, a little bit down the road, I got back into Pokemon Go, not that, like, a year or so ago, and Pokemon was never completely gone from my life, but just not a lot, right? And I also bought the Pokemon box with, like, the 3 different decks in it, so we could learn how to play the card game. And I had gotten Pokemon Arceus, or Arceus, I forget how to pronounce it, but...
Arceus?
I know that's what a lot of people around here call it, but I don't know if it's... I don't remember if that's the correct pronunciation. So I had that, and played a lot of that, because I was also really into, like, the samurai setting of it all and everything, like the old style Japanese setting.
I like how it's like, where you have to go build your own balls and you don't just buy them.
Yeah.
You don't just buy them from the Poke Center or whatever. You have to go find the items and then go make it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. And how you can sneak up on them and then throw the balls.
Yeah, the game is a lot of fun. And so that really helped reinvigorate it. And so then I thought, well, I really want to play the actual, like, series of games. Where, like, Red and Blue, Gold and Silver, Ruby and Sapphire, all that, right? And so then I had Pokemon Platinum and Pokemon Pearl. And so I'm like, hey, Ruby, you want to play these? So we did. But then I'm like, you know, it would be really fun to do a podcast as we play through the whole series. Would you be willing to go back to, like, the old school black and white ones? And she was. So that's why we were doing Red and Blue. So that's how we were getting all involved in it. And then with all that, I've been trying to collect all the games then so I can have them all when I go through them, right? Which led me to also getting Sword and Shield. And you had a Pokemon that you had become infatuated with before I got Sword and Shield. Through the cards or whatever. I don't know how you learned. Maybe just watching Pokemon Journeys or something. But there was a specific Pokemon that you were really into. Who was that?
I think it was Scorbunny?
Yes, Scorbunny.
Because I like Flareon, Scorbunny, and Cyndaquil.
Yes. You like your...
Scorbunny.
Because what type of Pokemon seems to be your favorite?
Fire!
Fire. Even though I argue that you should be a grass type trainer.
I played this fairy game on Roblox, and I did this test where, like, there was a different types, like almost Pokemon types except fairy.
Sure.
And I did the test, and it showed me as grass.
Yeah, nature fairy or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's your personality, but for some reason you want your fire, just like your older brother.
Fire.
And then, of course, your older sister, she's the water trainer, right?
Yep.
Or ice. She's kind of grown towards the ice stuff a little bit.
Well, she's water and ice.
Yeah. Well, in the card game, they're both the same, right? Yeah. So yeah, you really like that. So when I got Sword and Shield, despite the fact that I want to go through all the games with side by side with Ruby to podcast about it, other people wanted to play Pokemon games with me, like your younger brother did, all this stuff. Everybody wants to do that stuff because it seems exciting because me and Ruby are doing it, right? So
and I just like playing games with you.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. So we have recently started playing through Sword and Shield together, haven't we? Mm-hmm. And of course you chose Scorbunny because you want your Cinderace. And I chose Sobble because in my playthrough with Ruby, being the water trainer, she takes all the water Pokemon. Because that was always my favorite, was Squirtle in the first one. So I liked the water Pokemon because of that. But she's like, I'm the water trainer, so I'm like, all right, well, I'll go somewhere else. And so, since it was me and you playing it, eventually me and Ruby will play Sword and Shield, and I'll play the different one. Because through this, you're playing Sword, I'm playing Shield, right?
I'm playing Sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then when me and Ruby play, I'll play Sword, and she'll play Shield. But then that's when I'll take Grookey.
Okay.
Because I do like the grass types.
Rillaboom.
Yeah. There's only one time that I am going to take the water type from Ruby, and that's when we get to a different generation that we're not on yet. But, and she's kind of upset about it, but she'll get over it. But yeah, so that's kind of how we, like, recap a little bit of my journey in here and why me and Ruby are doing this, but also how it's circled around in the family and other people are involved, right? Yeah, so that's been fun. And then also Scarlet and Violet, me and Ruby are actually playing that slowly when we've, like, if we've made it to another gym and we haven't recorded that episode yet, then we'll do a little Scarlet and Violet. Because I really was excited for it to come out, and so I want to play it. And so then when me and Ruby get to it, we'll switch, and because I'm playing Violet, she's playing Scarlet, because I was most excited about Violet. So then when we play for the podcast, we'll flip it around. Which means I also chose a different Pokemon than I will normally choose.
Yeah, I was thinking Violet was the red and then Scarlet was the purple, and then I was confused.
Which I'm actually a little annoyed about now, because I should have started with Scarlet and let her play Violet, so that when we get to it in the podcast, we can flip it back around. Because, like, when we did Red and Blue, I'm doing blue, she's doing red. Gold and Silver won't matter. But then when we get to Ruby and Sapphire are just different shades of red and blue. And you know she's going to play Ruby because she's Ruby, and I'll play Sapphire. So that'll be like a theme, right? Red and blue. And then when we get to Sword and Shield, I'll be playing Sword, and she'll be playing Shield. And what are the colors on those boxes?
Blue and red.
Blue for Sword, red for Shield. So when we get to Scarlet and Violet, then I technically should be playing Violet for the podcast, and that's not how it's going to go. So we'll have flipped the colors. So I'm a little annoyed about that. Not a big deal, but a little annoyed. Yeah, and that one I'm playing Fuecoco. When I play for real, I'll be playing Sprigatito.
I'm playing Violet by myself, just because I want to. And even though I'm a fire trainer, I choose Sprigatito. She's just so cute.
Yep. So...
I couldn't stand the face.
Yeah. Fuecoco's actually pretty cute, too. I'm not that interested in Quaxley that much. Although, your mom thinks the Quaxley's final evolution is pretty cool. So who is your favorite Pokemon out of all the ones you know?
I'm going to have to say Eevee.
Oh, Eevee. What's your favorite Eevee evolution?
Flareon.
Shocker. So Eevee shows up even in the very first game, Red and Blue. If you were to start Red and Blue, the 3 starters are Charmander, Squirtle, Bulbasaur. Who would you choose?
Charmander.
Not surprised. Yeah. Because that's where we're at right now, journeying through the Kanto region, or Kanto, and in the anime as well. Who's your favorite character in the anime?
What do you mean? Like, out of the characters we know so far?
Yeah.
Wait, is that the comic book or the show?
Anime is the cartoon.
Okay,
Because, I mean, we got Ash, we got Gary, we got Ash's mom, we got Professor Oak, we got Brock and Misty, and then a handful of other characters like Bill and AJ and stuff that are only there like an episode or whatever. But
you're gonna have to say my favorite character is Ash because he's always messing up.
Oh, and Jesse and James. Forgot Jesse and James and Meowth. They're kind of important. Or any Officer Jenny's or Joey's. But Ash is your favorite character?
Yeah.
Alright, that's fine.
He's funny.
He is funny. He's an idiot sometimes, but he's funny.
Yeah.
And in the cartoon, who's been your favorite Pokemon so far?
I'm gonna have to say Psyduck.
I love Psyduck so much. He's a great character. That's a good choice. I approve of your choice, Rosella. And with the manga, because you've been reading the manga too. And so far we've only made it to the Savari Zone in the manga. So our main character of Red has defeated Brock. He has his Pikachu. He has his Poliwrath now because he also defeated the Lieutenant Surge on the boat. He has Snorlax with that whole bike trail when he was riding the bike on the race. Remember that?
Sort of.
Okay. So he has Snorlax. He has Bulbasaur. That was one of the first ones he got from Professor Oak. He started with Poliwhirl, but he got Bulbasaur really quick. So he has Bulbasaur, Pikachu, Poliwrath, Snorlax. He does have an Eevee as well from the Grass Gem situation, where that Eevee kept turning into the 3 different types. You remember that?
That was fun.
That was weird.
But poor Eevee.
Yeah, but Eevee's with him now. And he might have a Nidoran. So, Eevee's your favorite Pokemon. So out of the other Pokemon that Red has, who would be your favorite? So that would be like Poliwrath, Snorlax, maybe Nidoran, Pikachu. Yeah, those are the ones I can think of at least.
What does Snorlax do?
Snorlax is the big sleeping Pokemon.
Does he do anything else?
I mean, he can do all kinds of stuff, sure. He's a Pokemon, so he can attack and tackle, and I think he can probably learn Seismic Toss and sit on people and...
sit on people.
He also definitely has a move called Rest, where he puts himself to sleep, but it heals him completely.
I know.
It's an annoying move when you're trying to catch him.
Probably. At that point, I would just throw a Pokeball.
Yeah, you'd probably be just as lucky as your sister.
Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur? That's a good choice. I like Bulbasaur. So not Pikachu, huh? Because Pikachu... What do you think of Pikachu? He's the most popular Pokemon, I would say. Like, he's like the mascot of Pokemon. He's Ash's Pokemon. Red got him pretty shortly into the story. He's on the covers of everything. Like, Pikachu is the man, right? Not a man, he's a Pokemon. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What do you think of that Pokemon, specifically? Do you like Pikachu?
I mean, yeah, but
There's a lot of other ones you prefer?
Yeah.
Sure. That's cool. Alright, well, now that we got to know Rosella a little bit, let us get into the anime episodes.
So, last week, Ruby and I had finished the Fuchsia City gym. So we got our 5th badge at the Poison gym, where we had all kinds of fun with a lot of actual psychic Pokemon as well, and ghosts not working the way we expected them to.
Yes.
And now, in the manga, he actually skips this gym because he fights Koga throughout the book earlier, like at Mount Moon and stuff, because Koga's working with Team Rocket. And so instead he actually just does Safari Zone stuff. So we'll catch up with that later when we also do some Safari Zone anime episodes. So this week, we're just doing a bunch of anime, which is good because we also have a couple of episodes to catch up on, because one we skipped due to its band and then rearrangement in episodes, so it was earlier, and one somehow I just forgot to mention, which was The Primeape Goes Bananas, which takes place right before the Grass Gym. But we'll cover that right before we get to the punchy Pokemon, since those are kind of related. Alright, so we will start with episode 18, which is called Beauty and the Beach. What do you guys think about this one?
I think I liked it. Is this one of the banned episodes?
Yeah, it was banned and then it was released later, I think. So most of it's been dubbed in English. However, when they released it, they still cut out a chunk. That's why when we went back and watched it, we also watched it with the Japanese part put back in, but it was all in Japanese instead of English. Yep. So we had to read the subtitles, mostly because of James's beauty pageant outfit, which they kind of just skip over that entire part of the plot in the American version.
I mean, at least we have the episode.
Because, of course, it's a beauty pageant, and they're dressed up in, like, swimsuit gears and stuff, and Jesse and James are in bikinis, because, of course, James always dresses as a woman in his disguises.
Yep.
Almost always, anyway. So, yeah, very weird. But, yeah, this episode is supposed to take place right after the Island of Giant Pokemon, which were all those robots, if you remember those at all.
I do.
Yeah, they end up on an island with a giant Pokemon, and they get separated from their own Pokemon, and so, like, Pikachu teams up with, like, Bulbasaur and Squirtle and Meowth and Ekans and Coughing as they're trying to find their masters, because they all got separated from their masters.
I sort of remember.
Okay. And then, right after that, it's supposed to be this episode, and then following this episode is the whole episode with the Tentacool and Tentacruel situation.
I remember that.
Where Tentacruel takes over Meowth's mind, basically, and uses him to talk for him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this takes place between, and it has which the giant Pokemon was right after the whole Saint Anne sinking situation, and the Gyarados doing their little Dragon Fury thing or whatever it was, I forget, but they spin around a bunch, and that's what sends them all to the island giant Pokemon. This episode also explains why Professor Oak and Ash's mom are in town in the next episode and stuff too, because I think they were in the Tentacruel episode as well.
I don't remember if they were...
I could be wrong, but I thought they were around, because they're all still on that same, like, island-ish, like, town, seaside town, whatever it is. It's kind of fun because both the boys are weirded out when Misty shows up looking like a real girl, apparently, because apparently her outfit doesn't look like a real girl's outfit generally, I guess, to them.
I think they're just weird.
When Misty shows up on the beach while they're playing in the water, she's in a swimsuit, and they're like all stunned because she looks like a real girl instead of her regular tomboyish style. Of course, she's annoyed by them for that. But then they all end up stealing a boat together because they somehow misunderstood everybody else's actions for getting on the boat and thought they were all just climbing on a boat because somebody else was there.
Brock was following Pikachu.
Yeah, to get him off the boat. Ash thought Brock had gotten permission to use the boat or something, so he was on there, and Misty got on because the others were there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they lose control of it because of Team Rocket and their stupid little Gyarados sub, and knocks them off course. And they crash the boat, and then the owner of the boat, who owns a little restaurant as well, gets after them, and then so they agree to work it off and help his restaurant. Meanwhile, a neighboring restaurant is doing much better business, and Team Rocket is actually working for them. I think because they want repairs for their sub or something.
Yeah, their sub broke.
Yeah, so they need to earn money to repair their sub. So then there's, of course, a rivalry between the restaurants with Ash and them fighting back and forth. And then so Ash and the rest use their Pokemon to help get things going really quick and well and help serve tables and all that stuff. Like Bulbasaur's like waiting tables. So they're doing awesome. So, of course, Team Rocket, needing the money for their restaurant so that they can get money, start sabotaging the other one, which drives all the customers away.
With banana peels.
Well, that, and they threw like gasoline or something into the fire where Charmander's breathing and things like that. Yeah, whatever it was. So yeah, they cause all kinds of havoc. So then, and the guy that runs the restaurant, he really wants to take his boat and retire somewhere or take a vacation somewhere or something.
He wants to explore the world.
Yeah, with his boat, but he needed the funds for it. And then I think that's around. Oh, go ahead.
And he also owes somebody else, the other restaurant's owner, money.
Oh, that's right, because she ends up having some situation where she can basically take it from them all. I think that's about the time Oak and Ash's mom show up, and it's because they're part of some volunteer program helping with some stuff.
I think they're just on, like, an exploring...
No, they said they were with a group of people, that a volunteer group, though.
Oh, it's volunteer?
I think so. I think so.
I thought it was just for them to...
I thought it was a tour.
Yeah, tour group.
Maybe it's a tour group. I thought it was just some kind of... Maybe you're right. I don't remember. Anyway, they show up around then, and I think they're the ones that point out the beauty pageant thing.
Mm-hmm.
So then they're like, okay, we'll do that. And it's a beauty pageant and a costume contest. So like Misty enters with, and then she uses her Staryu and Ash's Squirtle to be like a UFO or something.
Yeah,
it was so weird.
And water.
And then like Ekans and Coughing, Ekans wrapped around Coughing show up to look like Ammonite or something, Amistar, one of the two. Mm-hmm. The little snail fossil Pokemon.
Well, part of the reason they were doing this is to advertise their restaurant, because there were going to be a lot of people there.
That's right. So yeah, they had the pageant going, and Brock for some reason ends up being the one like hosting it kind of thing. Like he's the one talking and introducing everything.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Don't know how he got that position. And then Gary ends up showing up with all his little cheerleader pals.
And he has them like all entered.
Yeah, and of course he makes fun of Ash while he's there, and
because he's up on stage with them.
Yeah, and so then Ash gets down there, and they get into an argument, and then somewhere amongst all that, Team Rocket tries to cause even more problems with their Gyarados sub that can now apparently drive on land.
Well, the lady found out that that's what they were trying to get money for, so she fixed it, but she said they needed to do something for her.
That's right, yeah, so they were going to sabotage the whole thing. And so then, they're causing a bunch of problems, everybody's, getting into action, and by the end of it all, the sub smashes into the mean lady's, who's a short, ugly-looking little lady, her restaurant, and it explodes, and so Team Rocket and the lady blast off, and her whole restaurant is destroyed. Mm-hmm. And
I'm pretty sure the heat-seeking missile started aiming towards me.
That's right, they shot a heat-seeking missile, and then Charmander burned its sensors so that it went, for some reason, that made it decide to go attack the Gyarados tank sub. And then, yeah.
And the Gyarados tank sub ran away.
Yes. So yeah, then it's smashed into the thing and blew everything up. And the trophy ended up in Oaks and Mash's mom's possession, and the guy got to go sailing on his boat.
And it had Ash's name on it?
Yeah, I didn't really understand the trophy thing.
The trophy from what?
I'm guessing from the pageant, but it had Ash's name on it, which didn't make much sense to me.
Maybe because they saved them.
Yeah, maybe.
That's
Yeah.
weird. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. The episode was a little, didn't make a ton of sense at points, and that could be just because of some of the editing they did, but I don't know. Doesn't really matter. But what's great about it is that the lady, she's the one that's rebuilt, that building that's at the end of the Tentacruel episode. She's rebuilding her restaurant. It looks exactly like the restaurant that we saw, except just frames, because she's hammering away. Mm-hmm. And then, I think it's Nastina is the other lady's name, who looks just like her, who's the main bad guy in the Tentacruel episode. And she comes crashing down into that building, demolishing it again, and she's like, "Oh, nice, thanks for dropping in, cousin," or whatever. So they were related.
Yeah, she's...
You need to stop dropping it.
Yeah, something like that.
Nastina's like, what are cousins for?
Yeah, something like that.
I thought that's what cousins for.
Alright, and then, catching up to where we left off in the anime and stuff last time, is episode 27. We have Hypno's nap time, and it's been a little bit since I actually watched this episode, so I don't remember it too super well. I just remember that the kids are missing or something.
Well, they go into town, and when the trio goes into town, a lady runs up to Ash and starts hugging him, and is like, "I missed you," but she only says back, and...
Oh, that's right. She thought it was one of the missing kids, so the kids aren't missing.
That was her missing kid,
yeah.
And Ash is like, "I don't know you." And then Officer Jenny explains it, and the Pokemon in the Pokemon Center are also acting weird.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Pikachu starts acting weird, so they try to go figure it out.
Yeah, what I remember most are two things. Well, three things. Hypno's the one involved in putting everybody to sleep, and some group of people want him to do this for some reason. They didn't realize it was doing everything it was doing, though, I think.
Well, they were old, I think they said, and had trouble sleeping or whatever, so...
And they didn't realize it was hitting everybody, because it was being amplified somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But the other things that I remember for sure is that Ash is all excited to be a detective on the case. I think even maybe Brock is too, but definitely Ash. And that Misty gets hypnotized into thinking she's a seal at one point.
Seal.
Those are the things that I remember.
They follow Misty because thinks she's a seal because hypnotized her. And they follow her next to a lake where there's a bunch of the kids. And they're all pretending they're different Pokemon.
Oh, that's right. They get hypnotized into thinking they're Pokemon.
One's flopping around and going...
So they're all acting like Pokemon, like wild Pokemon, which is why they're not home.
Yeah, one was flopping around in water going carp, 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 carp.
Oh, poor kid thinking it's a Magikarp. Wants to be a Magikarp.
So they needed, Drowsy was the one putting them all in that state, I think. Or was it Hypno?
I think it must be Hypno because it's Hypno's nap time.
Okay, but Drowsy's the one who fixes it.
Oh, that's right. They get Drowsy to fix the situation. Right. Well, cool. And then everything's all hunky-dory, and this really has no bearing on anything in the game or the manga. But then there's Pokemon Fashion Flash, and that's where they end up in a popular breeding area of some city. I forget which city. It's another
Brock wanted to go there.
Yeah, it's another random city that doesn't exist in the game. Yeah, because she's an award-winning breeder, so he wanted to go visit her, and he's all nervous and stuff. And she has a really beautiful Vulpix there that Misty tries to pet, but it doesn't like strangers petting it, so it burns Misty's face off.
Well, before they get there, they see another salon.
Yeah, a new salon called Salon Roquet.
And there's a Coughing and an Ekans all dressed up with lipstick and...
They look ridiculous.
They do. They really do.
They look hideous.
And even with them looking like that, the three are like, have I seen them somewhere? Probably not.
Yeah, that's the thing about the Team Rocket disguises. They almost always work on the gang.
Just so dumb.
It is. It's hilarious. But, yeah, I just love that they're Team Rocket, and they have a fancier R for their logo.
Yeah.
And Roquet is just rocket, but pronounced fancy.
Pronounced as Okay.
It's just hilarious to me. But yeah, then they end up at the breeder place, and the Vulpix ends up really liking the food that Brock makes for all the Pokemon. Like Pikachu, I think Pikachu was eating it or something, but then Vulpix starts eating it. Yeah, and so she's really impressed with Brock, and Brock wants to be her pupil. Like he wants to learn from her because she's won awards. And there's this whole debate about what matters most is what's on the inside of the Pokemon or the outside of the Pokemon, because there's a lot of people that are taken up by the outside fashion that Salon Roquet is pushing.
Misty likes it. She wants to get Pokemon.
Yes, and then she gets convinced that Psyduck is the one that needs that makeover, so she decides to go take Psyduck over there after an argument with Ash. And instead, she gets made over right off the bat. And she actually looks kind of fun. Like, I don't mind her makeover at first until after she's excited about it and Team Rocket's excited about it, then they decide to do more, and it's too much. She looks like a flipping clown after that.
I think she still likes it, though.
Yeah, I think so. She's weird.
I like the first one, but not the second.
No, the first one was great.
And then Meowth pops up and goes, "What are you doing?" And then she's like, "Wait, I know that." And then she gets captured.
Meowth is what reveals that it is Team Rocket to her. So then, because he scratches their clothes off too and reveals who they are, I think.
Yeah.
But what's funny to me is that Team Rocket seemed to be loving their new job. Like, it was supposed to be a ploy to kidnap Pokemon. But Jesse and James loved doing the makeovers. They were having so much fun. And they were actually making money at this legitimate business. Because Meowth was counting the money. Like, they were doing well. And the reason Misty got to go in there really quick is because everybody left because there was a seminar thing going on at the other breeder's place.
Yeah.
Where she was describing stuff and doing massages and stuff. And had Ash even massage Pikachu's cheeks or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Pikachu.
Yeah, Pikachu. Yeah, we have a stuffed Pikachu holding a pumpkin hanging out with us today. But Psyduck, when she got kidnapped, immediately fled. And of course, she's all mad at Psyduck ditching her to be captured by Team Rocket. But that's not what Psyduck did. He ran over back to the other salon and tried to communicate the issue, which Pikachu basically was able to also communicate to Ash, even though they just use Pokemon speak. So they all go running off to Salon Roquet, and they get into a battle. And of course, in this scene, like this episode, we have Vulpix as the new star, so all the rest of the Pokemon suck and fail, and Vulpix gets to do like the finishing touches.
Yeah.
Because that's what they always do, to promote the new Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. But at the end...
Yeah, Fire Spin.
After Misty gets rescued, she still starts yelling at Psyduck about it.
Not even realizing that Psyduck is the one that had helped her. Poor Psyduck. And, of course, then they win and beat Team Rocket, like usual. But what's most significant about the episode is that by the end of it, the lady, who was the famous breeder, decided she needs to travel the world again, and while she's doing it, she wants Brock to look after Vulpix on his journey, and Brock is, excited to have kind of like a rival in the breeder world, kind of like a Gary to Ash, in the trainer stuff. But then he gets Vulpix, which of course he's going to take care of, and it's just really interesting, because Vulpix does show up in later episodes, like he uses Vulpix on occasion, and it's not a rock Pokemon, and he's always using rock Pokemon. Well, that's not true. He had Zubat, too. But usually it's Geodude.
Well, I mean, Zubat is in a cave.
Yeah.
But immediately, Misty wants to... Or is this in a different episode that Misty wants to trade Psyduck for Vulpix?
I don't know if she ever offers that trade. I don't recall this.
She does. Maybe it's at the other gym that they go
I know the other
to.
gym, somebody offers a trade with her, and she refuses.
No. At the beginning, though, at the other one, she wanted to trade, and then when she says no at the end because she figured out that Psyduck is actually pretty great, then Rock's like, "Oh, but you were so excited to trade earlier," or Ash or something.
So that's probably in that same episode, then.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So, yeah.
But it happens.
I believe you. Alright, so then... That was Pokeball Fashion Flash. Now we go a little bit back in time again to episode 20, because that was 28. We go to 25, Primeape Goes Bananas. And I understand why I skipped this episode when I was talking about it before, because there's not really anything too significant that happens here. Basically, Ash tries to catch a Mankey while they're on their way to Celadon City.
Oh, and
He fails and catches a rice cake, which they call a jelly donut. because of weird translation stuff to make it more relatable to the audience that's listening to
But
it.
still, a jelly
Doesn't look anything like one. And then eventually Mankey turns into Primeape and has also stolen Ash's hat, and he wants his hat back. I know Team Rocket gets involved too, but it doesn't go well because Primeape is dangerous.
Yeah.
And somehow by the end of it, Ash gets Primeape.
A bunch of people stare Primeape in the eyes.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that according to the Pokedex thing. Yeah.
Well,
even though they know
is
that, they still did it.
Is this over the span of 2 episodes where he gets Primeape and then also fights with Primeape?
The fighting is a different episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just jumping all around in the episodes.
Yes, you are. But the reason I brought it up, this older episode that I skipped now, is because of the next episode.
Oh.
Because like it's significant enough for this next episode, but as we'll find out by the end of the other episode, the whole Primeape arc really has no significance whatsoever. So like I said, it makes perfect sense that I just kind of like glazed over this episode because there really is nothing too important here.
Yeah.
But I think by the end of it, Team Rocket is like surrounded by a bunch of Mankey or Primeape or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Which sucks for them, of course, and it's hilarious. But that's about it.
All of them in the eyes.
Yes.
They kept turning around, looking at them all. It's like, why?
And I don't even remember how he convinces Primeape to go with him, be captured, or if he even convinces him, and he just somehow is able to get him. I don't know, but he gets his hat back.
Able to get him.
And then that brings us to episode 29, the Punchy Pokemon. This one's interesting because in the video game we go to Celadon City, do the grass gym, right? And then we can get the water or tea or whatever for the people that are guarding Saffron City. We decided to go to Saffron City before going to Fuchsia City to do the next gym, or in before going to Lavender Town to do the whole Sylph Scope to get the Pokeflute and all that jazz. But in Saffron, that's where the Psychic Gym is, but it was blocked off because Team Rocket has blocked off a lot of stuff in Saffron City by this point.
Mm-hmm.
But there was another gym right next to the main gym, and it was a fighting dojo.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an actual sanctioned gym. You don't get a badge from it. But it's a
You
smaller
get
gym, but it's a fighting gym. And this one's kind of about a fighting gym as well, which is interesting to me.
He
And
gets a badge, though.
it involves...
He gets a badge, though.
Ash doesn't get a badge in this gym. This isn't a real gym.
He gets like one of those.
Primeape gets an award because he wins. Spoilers. Anyway, but here's the...
I'm thinking of something else.
Okay,
Continue.
but here's the thing. So, like, in the fighting gym in the dojo in the Pokemon game, if you get through them all, you get to choose one of 2 Pokeballs. And so you would either get Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan. And guess who are the stars of the Punchy Pokemon? Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. So it was an episode to highlight them as well. So it's kind of fun. But anyway, Ash sees a quote-unquote wild Hitmonchan, but it turns out it's not. It's just in training with some guy, and his daughter is also watching because she came traveling to find him because he's been gone from home for so long because he's so dedicated to this Pokemon tournament.
Mm-hmm.
The P1 Championship or whatever.
Pokemon 1 Championship.
And so there's that whole introduction, and so she really wants him to come home, and so she asks for help, and of course Brock immediately offers to help, and Ash is like, yeah, we can help, and they're like, well, we don't have any fighting Pokemon, and Ash is like, well, I do, I have Primeape.
I think Brock is the one who says that.
Well, maybe, but basically they're like, hey, do we have a fighting Pokemon? Ash is like, yeah, I got one, it's Primeape, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so, right, we got a fighting Pokemon, so it seems to suggest you need a fighting Pokemon. Hitmonchan is a fighting type. Primeape is a fighting type Pokemon
And later,
in the game.
Team Rocket's reading the poster later, and it says you need a fighting type. Like,
Which
it
is-
actually says that.
Which is a significant plot point for them because otherwise they would just enter with Ekans or Coughing, but they can't. So they beat up this guy called the Giant, who's really, really tall in a trench coat and hat, steal his clothes, and steal his Hitmonlee Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
So, with all that said, when Ash is like, yeah, I got one, and then Geodude's like, yeah, or Geodude, Brock is like, yeah, I will enter with my Geodude. Geodude is not a fighting type Pokemon. Not only that, it's a rock Pokemon, therefore it is weak to fighting type Pokemon, or fighting type moves, I should say.
Dumb.
It made no sense. Now, a lot of times they bend the rules for story reasons, but Brock had no significance to the tournament whatsoever, so I don't know why they forced him to be a part of it without a fighting type Pokemon. It made no sense to me. The only thing that was good about it is that Geodude lost in his first match, which he should, since he was fighting type Pokemon. But then, so yeah, then of course Jessie and James is dressed as the giant, with Jessie as the top part and James as the bottom part.
And her pink hair
is sticking right out of the hat.
sticking out.
And they come up with plans to cheat, so they put like some glue on the mat or something like that.
Oh.
Like this super sticky glue.
Mm-hmm. And that's what stops Hitmonchan from winning, right?
Yes.
So the guy who has the daughter,
Well.
They're in the towel.
yeah, he threw in the towel.
Yep.
And so then it's Primeape that's going to go against Hitmonlee in the finals.
Mhm.
And they have a new plot to cheat as well, where they're going to electrify the whole thing. So they put a box underneath the whole thing that they're going to turn on when Hitmonlee jumps. But Pikachu hears this plan, tries to warn Ash, but Ash is too focused on the match with Primeape and Hitmonlee.
Pikachu.
Right. So then Pikachu just goes under. And that's the last thing we see. Then we see Hitmonlee do its jump to get onto the edges, and Team Rocket, like, Meowth hits the button, but nothing happens, and then, of course, Primeape wins the fight.
And they're like,
What happened? And then Pikachu comes right out holding the thing.
Gives it to Mouth. And
Meowth is thankful. He's like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, thanks. And then explodes in their face.
And, of course, then they blast off again.
Yeah, Pikachu just, like, walks out, hands it to Meowth, walks away. He is so cute. I love Pikachu.
It is a hilarious moment.
It's like when Pikachu electrifies them, except their own creation.
Yes. So this episode is just really annoying, and like there's some fun stuff, but it's really annoying because one, Geodude, fighting type, dumb. The second thing I don't like is, okay, so Primeape wins, so they give him his big old belt that's for the P1 champion. He is the P1 champion. So then later, the guy's like, hey, I'm going to go back to my family and do stuff, but I also think you should leave Primeape with me, almost in a daycare kind of situation, right?
Yeah.
So that I can train him to be a true P1 champion. Okay, if you win the P1 championship and you get the belt, you are therefore factually, so truthfully, a P1 champion. So how can he be any more true of a P1 champion?
Yeah.
Makes no sense. But it's an excuse to get rid of Primeape, who we only got a few episodes ago. Like, we just talked about it last episode here, but, like, it was just a few episodes ago that he got it. So, like, what was the point? Ash needs to keep on to some of his Pokemon. Really, just really dumb. Anyway, then we get to episode 30, where they go to another city that doesn't exist, called Gringy City, I think it's called.
Oh!
And this one...
Gringy City, I didn't catch that. That's
and
funny.
it looks terrible. Like, it's got smoke and pollution, because there's all these factories. The water is disgusting.
I knew what Pokemon would be there right away.
The Mucks and Grammars.
Yeah, they appear much later, but I knew immediately.
Yeah.
I'm like, this town is
And we
Mucks and
And we get a Joy that is super, like, tired and bored all the time. Like, she just yawns the whole time they're talking to her and seems really unhelpful.
It's late at night.
Is it? Or is it just dark from all the smog?
I'm pretty sure it's late.
Excuse me. I don't know.
Like, she even mentions how they're supposed to be in bed right then.
Oh, that could be. Anyway. But she's not super helpful. Most of the Joys are. She's just like, eh.
Yeah.
Because Pikachu, they went there because Pikachu is acting like he has a cold. And like, yeah, he has a cold. That's what she says. He's got a cold. So he's feeling under the weather. And meanwhile, Team Rocket is planning on sneaking into the Pokemon Center from underneath in the sewers, where it's all disgusting and smelly. And so Meowth is in like a nice little small device that only he can fit in to drive around in and be safe from all the smells and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he gives James and Jessie suits where he has a machine that pumps oxygen and like perfume or something in there to protect them from the smell and keep them, breathing while they go into the water.
But they don't want to go in the water.
But they do. He convinces them to go in. With the suits.
Convince them. He electrifies them.
Well, that was convincing.
Yeah, he made the suits electric so that when they didn't want to go in, he electrified them.
Yes. They were convinced. Anyway. But then all of a sudden, Grimers and stuff clog up some of the water flow, which powers the power plant, which shuts all the power off in the city, which includes the pump to their suits. So they're gagging and dying in the water. And it also shuts down all the stuff at the Pokemon Center then, which there's a bunch of Pokemon in intensive care, apparently. Like, they're dying if they don't get patched up. And so now those machines don't work, so they're going to die. So Ash and a gang are like, well, we'll go to the power plant to figure out what's going on. Pikachu, you stay here. They leave, Pikachu follows, because Pikachu won't stay.
Nope.
And I don't remember too much about what happens to Team Rocket until the very, very end. But I do know that when the gang gets to the power plant, they get freaked out because something's hovering around them. I think it's like a ghost or something, but it turns out to be a Magnemite who blushes and stuff when it gets close to Pikachu and seems to be infatuated with Pikachu. And I think it's Brock that even mentions that it seems weird because it's an inorganic Pokemon, and usually inorganic Pokemon don't find anything interesting about organic. Like, they wouldn't have that kind of attraction to an organic Pokemon. So that's a mystery. But they can't shake this Magnemite. And they eventually run, like, Grimers finally start flooding into the building.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole chase thing. And basically, it's almost like a horror movie where they all barricade themselves in the control room, trying to save themselves from the Grimers and Mucks that are coming. Yeah. And they fight them as they finally break in. And Pikachu is blasting away. But is getting tired, and there's still too many coming. But then, Magnemite shows up with a bunch of Magneton, which are the Magnemite's friends, to go help protect Magnemite's love of Pikachu. And they blast all the... Like, they create this, like, electric barrier, and then they, like, electrify them and stuff, and so then all that's left is, like, one Muck, who's still coming, and I think Pikachu delivers the final blow to that thing.
Yeah.
And then Ash catches it. And then we cut to being outside the plant, now that the plant's
and
working.
the Pokeball stinks.
Well, that's where I'm getting to.
Oh.
So, like, so the power plant's working, so then we just cut to them being outside, and I think maybe it is day now, actually, so you might have been right about it being night. And so... While they're out there, they're like, oh, you can still smell Muck in the Pokeball. Yeah. And then he eventually sends the Pokeball to Professor Oak, who's like, yuck, a Muck.
Yeah.
But while they're out there, the power plant guys see Magnemite and Pikachu, not like Pikachu's like following Magnemite around, but Magnemite is like not interested in Pikachu anymore suddenly. And they're like, oh, well, he probably just had built up a lot of electricity. He needed to release it. And when Pikachus do that, they start showing cold-like symptoms. So he didn't have a cold, he just had too much built-up electricity, which magnetized him, which is why the Magnemite was following it, because of the magnetic attraction.
So fun.
Team Rocket figured out that he was probably magnetized, so they built a giant magnet in their sub, and popped up out of the water, and they're like, alright, we'll turn that on, and we'll catch that Pikachu, because he'll come and snap onto our magnet. But they turn it on, and this is after we just learned that Pikachu is not magnetized anymore. And so instead, a bunch of Magneton fly to the big giant magnet, and they're heavy, because it's a bunch of them, and they sink.
Yep.
And that's Team Rocket's end for that episode. So many times they would probably die, yet they keep coming. It's a kid's show, so they can't die. So yeah, that's how that whole thing wraps up. And they're like, hey, you guys should, take care of your area and like make it cleaner because this is not good.
Yeah.
Then we move on to episode 31. Dig those Diglett.
Diglett dig, Diglett dig.
Trio.
Diglett dig, Diglett dig, Diglett dig.
Trio.
Diglett dig, Diglett dig, Diglett dig.
Alright. So this one, there's a bunch of construction work trying to be done, but their vehicles get like smashed into holes and fall into the ground or whatever and all this stuff because Diglett keeps digging all these things and causing troubles for this project. They're trying to build a dam, I believe.
Yes.
But we'll just get this over with. The plot here basically is that the dam is causing problems to the land, driving Pokemon, like it's stopping the habitat for the Pokemon and causing harm to them, and that's why they're trying to stop it. So that's what they learn by the end of it. And so then they, of course, stop. But the process of all this is that Ash and them show up, and the construction people think that they're the first trainers to arrive at this call that they put out there for trainers to show up and help stop the Diglett problem. Mm-hmm. But they're not, of course, there for that. But then we do get a bunch of Pokemon showing up, and who's leading the charge? Gary and his cheerleaders are with him. And Brock flirts with them. They think he's older, but he doesn't care. He's desperate. Brock is ridiculous when it comes to women. But anyway, then a bunch of Pokemon start launching, or trainers start launching their Pokeballs out at the Diglett, but they don't come out of the Pokeballs, and the Diglett just keep returning the Pokeballs.
Yep. Super
fast. And we learn that they can move, like, faster than light in the ground, or when they pop up, or something like that. I don't know. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It's a ridiculous feature of the Pokemon. But while they're all trying to figure out the Diglett problem, we have Team Rocket, who are just feeling really down and bummed out because they keep losing to the twerps. That's what they call them all the time.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out what to do, and they're like, well, I got an idea. We need to induce evolution on our Pokemon. But then they're like having second thoughts, like, well, we don't want to, because then they won't be Ekans anymore and coughing anymore. We love our Ekans and coughing. So they love their Pokemon, which is kind of sweet, I guess. They're weird, but, you know.
Yeah.
But, like, they don't want to do that. But it turns out you can't really induce evolution on a Pokemon anyway. They have to experience level up. And it just turns out, while they're doing all this, Ekans and coughing do evolve, because it's just their time. So now we finally have Arbok and Weezing, which we'll have for the rest of their journey there.
Yep.
Which is a little sad, because I always loved the coughing. And now he's just like, Weezing, Weezing. I like the coughing better.
Coughing.
Wheezing is funny.
He is funny. And I think they get into a short fight with their Arbok and Weezing against Ash and them, but
They lose pretty quick.
They lose really quick. Their main plot was just debating whether they should evolve their Pokemon, and then the Pokemon evolving.
Yep.
And then then they learn that the Pokemon aren't helping against the Diglett because of what's going on, and so then they're like, oh, okay, we won't destroy this land with this dam. And
yeah, the guy's like,
move on.
the Diglett being here is ruining the dam, but then later on at the end, he's like, oh wait, us being here is ruining things for the Diglett.
Exactly.
I won't build the dam.
Because the Diglets dig and the trios plant tree.
I think you might be right. I forgot about that detail. And then we finally make it to the Fuchsia City gym with the Ninja Poké Showdown. And here they go into like an old-style Japanese ninja mansion.
Well, before they do that, when they're traveling,
Oh, sorry.
Misty wants to trade her Psyduck with Brock's
For the Vulpix, because the Vulpix is cute.
Yeah, and Psyduck
And
is
Psyduck is annoying.
and
I love Psyduck.
useless.
Ay.
Psyduck's the best.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite characters at this point. As far as the Pokemon go. But yeah, so they get into this ninja mansion place, and there's like all kinds of booby traps. Because it's a ninja mansion. And then they get confronted by this girl with a Venonat, who says they can't leave until they battle her or something.
Mm-hmm.
So then Ash goes to battle her with Bulbasaur. Alright, now Bulbasaur is a grass-type Pokemon. Fortunately, he's dual-type and is grass and poison. So poison attacks won't hurt him, because grass is weak to poison, but he's not because he's also poison. So he's okay there. But Venonat is also a bug, I believe, and probably knows some bug moves.
Yeah.
And grass is weak to bug moves as well. So, once again, Ash shows his lack of understanding of type advantages and sends out Bulbasaur when he has a Charmander.
He needs his Charmander later. And
being poison Pokemon, psychic Pokemon work really good against them too. Which we'll actually learn that, we actually get some psychic action later, which will be cool. So anyway, they get into a fight. I don't think anybody wins, right?
No, Ash wins.
Oh, does he win? Okay, so he wins.
I remember this because I think it's really weird. Because later, the main guy's like, you can't leave until you fight me. And it's
Well,
like,
this doesn't even happen that much later.
Somebody.
It happens pretty quick after the lady there. Koga shows up, the actual gym leader. He's like, what's going on around here? And then he's all like, now you can't leave unless you battle me. It's like, which makes sense because he's the gym leader. The other lady, whatever.
Yeah,
and he...
I thought it was so dumb. Because I'm like, he just...
Yeah.
Never mind.
And he has a Venomoth, so the evolved form of Venonat.
And then...
And this is the point where Ash actually uses a Charmander, which is great.
Yes.
But then, of course, Team Rocket shows up and causes
they
problems.
Never cause
And actually, I really
This is the
enjoyed...
first.
Oh, I forgot to mention this. I love it when they change up their motto. And so, like, in the punchy Pokemon, it was really fun when they start saying their motto, but they don't actually get to finish it because James is really struggling under the weight of Jesse on his shoulders, and he eventually collapses, and it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, they do a whole, like, kabuki theater thing, where I think kabuki theater, I think that's the right term. Anyway, they do a whole theater thing, and because they're in the ninja temple, and do this whole show and dance of it all, which is fun. I love it when they change up their stuff for their motto. Anyway, so then, of course, they send out Arbok and Weezing, and they end up using some kind of, like, webbing stuff or whatever to capture everybody, right? They end up stopping all the Pokemon from getting to them. Like, they can't fight.
Yeah, I don't remember how that happened.
But they do. Because there's other traps that were being used, and then they use them back, and it's a whole thing. And they end up in a weird room that's all slanted to keep everybody off balance eventually. But Misty's like, alright, I'm going to use Starmie. And before she can even throw anything out of her bag, Psyduck pops out of his Pokeball like he loves to interrupt and do. She's like, Psyduck, I didn't want you. Alright, I'll use Star you. But then Psyduck just kind of like is in the way still and is still going to be the one there. She's like, fine.
What moves do you have?
Oh, that's right. So they use the Pokedex to learn the moves of Psyduck. And the first one is Tail Whip. And so then, of course, he turns around and wiggles his butt and does, like, nothing. And they all laugh at how pathetic he is.
Yeah, that's funny.
Or be annoyed and groan about it like Misty. And then they're like, well, then Scratch. And so he uses Scratch, but it doesn't do much. Because he just has his little wings.
It's so cute.
And then they don't actually learn the new move for a little while. Because then he starts getting a headache and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
And I think even Arbok puts its whole mouth over his head at one point.
Yeah.
Which helps his headache get worse and worse. And then he's able to unleash psychic powers. His eyes glow blue or whatever. And they're like, oh, and then he also knows confusion and disable and confusion. And that's when he, like, his disable, for some reason, just freezes them in the air, which doesn't make any sense. That's not really what disable does. It just interrupts a move.
Fine.
And then he, like, telekinetically throws them all around with quote-unquote confusion. It's fine. But,
The Missy loves Psyduck.
But yeah, then she's like, well, he's actually pretty impressive and stuff. So then by the end of all this, Ash and Koga are going to do their final battle. And they do that outside now, I think.
Yeah, they fight outside. Yeah. Wait, before that...
Was the trading before that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So after that whole incident, Koga's like, hey, that Psyduck's pretty neat. You want to trade?
He
and
said he'd be willing to trade his Venomoth.
Right. And now Misty's like, well...
And then the girl butts in and goes, I'd be willing to trade, be more than willing to trade my Venomoth.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. And Brock's like, you were very willing to trade that earlier.
Right.
For my Vulpix.
Yep. And then we get to Ash and Koga facing off outside. And Koga has Venomoth. And does Ash use Charmander here?
He used another good type advantage, like Pikachu, because he's flying or something.
Oh, maybe. That could be. Pikachu's
Something
always
like
getting all the fun. But anyway, Ash wins. He gets his soul badge. It's one of the actual wins to get a soul badge. A lot of times Ash is just given a badge. Because with the Boulder badge, the first one, it was kind of a cheat of a win. Especially since Electricity shouldn't have worked on Onyx. And then he's given it to it because of his heart, basically. And then the Cascade badge, he would have won if he was able to use Pikachu. And he was already kind of winning, but there was never really a conclusion because Team Rocket interrupted the whole match. So, whatever. And then the Vermilion badge he earned, that was against Lieutenant Surge, where he used his Pikachu against the Raichu. So he earned that one. The Cascade badge, or the Rainbow badge at the Grass Gym, he didn't earn. He just rescued Gloom from the fire, and so it's like, hey, you earn this Rainbow badge. So this is the second one that he's actually battled to earn.
Yep.
And that catches up to where we are in the game. And then we'll have So next week's episode should be back to Red and Blue and our journey to Sabrina, which we've already covered in the anime because of the way the anime decided to go about things. But we'll also cover. But then after that, we'll have like the Safari Zone stuff. But there's gonna be a point in here where we're gonna have a few episodes back to back of these Roots Through Pokemon Adventures, because well, the anime has a lot of filler in between some of the gyms where there's a lot of stuff that happens and goes on.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that.
8 of them?
Huh?
I think there's gonna be 8 of them.
8 of what?
Back-to-backs.
No, it won't be that many. We're going to have a handful of like back-to-back episodes and then back to the game and forth and stuff. And then, once we finish Red and Blue, there's definitely going to be a lot of back-to-back ones because we'll have to go through the whole Orange Islands, which has nothing to do with the video games. And we'll be going through the yellow volumes in the manga, which are more volumes than there are for the Red and Blue ones. Like, they're all part of the same set. But Yellow has more than, like, Red and Blue only have 3 volumes, whereas Yellow has, like, 4 volumes. So more. So it's going to take us, we have a lot of adventure before we get to Johto in Season 2. Alright, and now with episodes, the anime episodes talked about, we're going to also start a new segment I'm going to do periodically, I think, where we open Pokemon cards.
Huh?
Is this a surprise?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, can I have them?
I want to be one.
Actually, I want this one.
Alright, so it looks like, well, I'm going to be doing Sword and Shield Brilliant Stars booster pack today.
I'm going to be doing Sword and Shield Fusion Strike.
Sword and Shield Astral Radiance?
Astral Radiance.
Astral Radiance.
Alright, who wants to go first?
Me! I'm pretty open.
We'll let Rosella, our guest, go first.
I was just going to open it and then wait to read them. My bad.
Alright, what do we got? Describe it for the audience. Hey, you should have your mic.
Hoot Hoot.
Nice. Looks like he has an ability.
Ability. Stand Sentry.
Stand Sentry.
Basic energy attached to your benched Pokemon can't be discarded by an effect if your opponent's item or support cards.
Cool.
Cricketot.
Cricketot.
Cricketot. I like Cricketot.
Tip over. Flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 20 more damage. 10. Sudowoodo. Ability. Vamoose. Vamoose. If this Pokemon has an energy or any damage counters on it, it has no retreat costs. And then Double Edge, 90 damage.
No, we don't need all that stuff.
This Pokemon also does 30 damage to itself.
Mm.
Combi. Drifloon evolves from
Shieldon.
Shieldon. Evolves from, what's that?
Oh, unidentified fossil.
Unidentified fossil.
And is that your like special like shiny card or whatever? Like it's got.
It's a Magnezone.
Ooh, Magnezone. That's a good one for this episode. So we just talked about Magnemites and Magnetons. Magnezone is a final evolution that's introduced much later.
Perfect. Can I see it? Ooh.
Giga Magnet. Once during your turn, you may look at the top 6 cards of your deck and attach any number of metal energy cards you find there to your Pokemon in any way you like. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. Corellia.
Evolution of Ralts.
Teleporting first. Evolves from Raltus. Grant. A supporter card. Trainer card. He's a supporter. Another trainer card. Item. Switch card.
That's cool.
Me next.
All right, Ruby, what did you get?
I got an Arrokuda. His attack is Peck, 10 damage.
Ooh, water type. You like your water types.
That's true. Snubble. In this one, he's a psychic type, but I think I've also seen him as a fairy type. He has Headbutt and Bite, but they just need normal energies. They don't need actual psychic energies. Geodude.
Geodude.
Let me see.
His type.
Okay, so, I mean, there is no rock or ground type in the Pokemon card game, so they do generally end up in the fighting type. That does not make them a fighting type Pokemon. Oh, jeez.
Okay, well, he has Rollout and Light Punch. Then I got Sizzlipede, a fire Pokemon. He is not an Ember. Klefki, he's a metal type. I think I've also seen him as a psychic type. Hasn't he been both?
Yeah, I think he's a ghost Pokemon, so.
His special thing is Unlock. It does 10 damage and you draw 2 cards. Phalanx, Headbutt, and Cliff Edge Formation, 60 plus damage. If your opponent has exactly 1 prize card remaining, this attack does 160 more damage.
So if you're really almost defeated, he can do a lot.
Lattice, Dragon type.
I think it might be Latias or something.
That makes more sense.
It has
Latias, Dragon type. Ability Red Assist. Once during your turn, you may attach a psychic energy card from your hand to one of your Lados. It's a fire and psychic mixture. It has no weakness or resistance. And Dyna Barrier is 70 damage during your opponent's next turn. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from Pokemon V Maxes.
Ooh, that's cool.
I got a Dark Energy. Harima evolves from Makakuta. Fighting type.
Hariyama.
Yeah.
Makuhita.
Its ability is Guts. If this Pokemon would be knocked out by damage from an attack, flip a coin. If heads, this Pokemon is not knocked out and its remaining HP becomes 10. It has Hammer-In, which does 100 damage. Breloom evolves from Shroomish, Headbutt, and Impact Blow. It's a grass type. Impact Blow does 150 damage. During your next turn, this Pokemon can use Impact Blow. Can't use Impact Blow. That makes more sense. Then I got a trainer card. It's an item. Cross Switcher. You must play 2 Cross Switchers cards at once. This effect works on one time for 2 cards. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon. If you do, switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. I did understand it. Alright, that's all of them. How about yours?
Alright, well, let's see. Alright, I have Minchino, that little mouse guy. Normal type. We have, Chimchar. He's a starter Pokemon in one of the gens. That's exciting. I like Chimchar. Chime Echo.
Oh, I've seen him before.
We have Golett.
Nice.
I think both Chime Echo, maybe Chime Echo's only psychic. Golett, I think, is ghost at least. Oops. We have Corphish.
Nice.
And then my, shinier card, whatever they're called, I don't know. I'm not that well versed in the lingo. But I have Manaphy with an ability called Wave Veil. Prevent all damage done to your benched Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon.
I've got a couple of those. I don't think I have that one, so I might want it. How pretty.
Ooh, and then I have Tornadus. Normal type. Let's see. Ability. Sudden Cyclone. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may have your opponent switch their active Pokemon with one of their benched Pokemon. And then Blasting Wind for 100 damage.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
And then I got a Fighting Energy for your fighting type Geodude.
Which can be fighting.
I mean, there's no rock.
Ooh, and Groddle evolves from Turtwig. Ability, Sun-Drenched Shell. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for a leaf Pokemon, or grass Pokemon, reveal it, and put it in your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Ooh, double Turbo Energy. That'll be good for Tornadus. Ooh, and Torkoal, fire type.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think I've seen it in a show or something.
And then that's that. So that's what I got. That was
That's
fun.
cool.
Alright, and well, we'll try to do that maybe at least on some of the Adventures episodes, if not the gaming ones. Make that a little bit more regular, because we do like collecting our cards. We play sometimes, but most of the times we just like getting them. They're fun to open.
It's true. And see if you got a cool card,
And if any of you listeners ever want to see them or whatever, if we like the ones that we think are cool, maybe I'll post them on the Facebook group and stuff. Oh, speaking of, we do have a Facebook group now, Roots Through Pokemon, so you can always go there if you'd like. And we also have our email, hunterfieldmanor@gmail.com. And you can find us, the podcast itself, on YouTube at Hunterfield Manor, or Spotify, or Apple. That is where we're at for now, so thank you very much for listening, and we will catch you back in Saffron next week. Bye.
Bye!